Turn with me, if you would, to Matthew chapter 4. Matthew chapter 4. I'm going to read into your hearing verses 12 through 15. We find ourselves out of the wilderness. Jesus has come out of the wilderness. The angels have now ministered to him, and he's ready to go do some things. And this is where we find ourselves in verse 12 of chapter 4. Now, when Jesus had heard that John was cast into prison, he departed into Galilee. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is upon the coast, which is on the sea coast, in the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying. Now, Isaiah wrote this about 700 years before Christ. You can find that in chapter 9, verse 1 and 2, but this is about 700 years before Christ. Verse 15 says, the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people which sat in darkness saw great light. And to them which sat in the region and in the shadow of death, light is sprung up. Light is sprung up. Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. God said, let there be light, and there was light. Take your seats. Let's talk prophetical onus. Now, prophetical onus, prophecy prepares for the after effects. Say prophecy prepares for the after effects. It is the expectation and inevitability of our faith. So prophecy is inevitable. Do you understand that? It is the inevitability of our faith, even though we believe it, even though it has not come to pass. When we're talking about the prophetic, it's inevitable, because if God said it, then it shall come to pass. If the true prophets of God say God has said this, I'm talking about the true prophets of God say God has said this, then it shall come to pass. It cannot fall to the ground. Does that make sense? The prophetical has both current and future applications. They mean something at the time that they're uttered, and they certainly mean something when they come to pass. Are you with me so far? It adheres to the foretold, and it foretells what must ultimately be adhered to. We must recognize prophetic places require absolute attention. Truth be told, every place in life is meaningful. How many can you attest to that? Even when you thought you were wasting time, that time still meant something. Even when you were angry with somebody for wasting your time, that time still meant something. Even if you spent some time in a relationship that didn't work out, that time still meant something, because some lessons come quickly and some lessons come over an elongated period of time. Say it meant something. But prophetic places require absolute attention. Text says Yeshua departed into Galilee, leaving Nazareth, came and dwelt in Capernaum on the seacoast in the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali. Now we have Galilee, whose meaning is circuit. Say circuit. The region from which Christ would begin his public ministry. And then the text says that he left Nazareth. And Nazareth, whose meaning is guarded one. Guarded one. There's some study that says it means separated. It means crowned. But it means guarded one. This is his hometown, the base of his development, his ontogeny, if you would, his development, the place where he grew up. This is hometown. And he's leaving Nazareth. Now, even though Nazareth was a place of his development, it was also a place of rejection. He says that prophets are not accepted in their own home. So it's a place of development, but a place of, hold on, I want to say that again. I hope this is sticking with somebody. It's a place of development, but it's also a place of rejection. Does anybody see the confrontation in that? This is the place where I grew up, but when I grew up, I had conflict with the very place that I grew from. This is the place that I'm supposed to feel at home in. I'm supposed to come here and slap fives with all my friends. I'm supposed to come here and I'm supposed to get home treatment. You know, when you're playing in a competition that everybody talks about home court advantage, what happens when you don't have home court advantage? What happens when you come home and the crowd rejects you? The crowd rejects the people that you grew up with, the same people that you was on, because I know the text only tells us about the birth. And then it tells him about confounding, but you know he was doing some stuff growing up that people was like, hold on. I don't know what's going on here, but there's something different about this one. I can't quite put my finger on it, but something is different. But this same place, this is the same place where they say, ain't that marry them, little boy? You know Joseph ain't his real daddy, right? Oh, see, y'all act like this stuff ain't happened. See, we only think that drama happened in our time. You know Mary was out there getting loose, right? Huh? Okay. Y'all know Mary was out there. Come on, like people didn't talk about it. We not so sure because, you know, hey, we acting like Joseph didn't talk to nobody. Now, I know the text don't tell us that, but we act like he ain't speak to nobody, like he wasn't a human being. Like he was just, I'm going to put her away quietly. Why you putting her away? Oh, I'm not going to say, oh, he might have. I'm just saying, I don't want to put anything into the text. I'm just saying, he might have said something to somebody. That's just me thinking. You can exclude that if you want to. I'm just saying he was a human being, and his feelings was probably hurt before he caught revelations. But this is Mary's boy. This is Mary's little illegitimate child. Oh, never mind. Let me move on. Y'all mad that I'm talking about Jesus? Okay, let me get back to the text. This is church, by the way. I just want to tell you. So the place of his development is the place of his rejection. So then the text tells us about Capernaum, and the meaning of Capernaum is village of comfort. Now, this is the location that he frequented, and he did many miracles there. Now, take note that the prophetic focus is placed on Zebulun, whose meaning is dwelling. Zebulun means dwelling or habitation. And Naphtalium, whose meaning is wrestling. Here we have darkness in the dwelling place and darkness in the wrestling place. So we have habitational and confrontational darkness. Habitational and confrontational darkness. So he comes out of the wilderness. He comes out of temptation and he finds himself in a dark place. I've just finished my temptation. I've just got the victory. You would figure after the victory that he would get a parade. That there would be a time of celebration, because we understand that life is about trials. We understand that life is about battles, but we would figure that at least after you won a victory, that major, you just got victory over the devil himself. The angels came and ministered to you, probably clapping their hands. And then immediately after you got to walk into a dark place, a dwelling place of darkness, a place of wrestling. What do we say about that? We don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but we wrestle against principalities and powers and the rulers of darkness of this world. Spiritual wickedness in high places. So he's dealing with rulers of darkness of this world. That's where he finds himself. Y'all with me so far? Saints of God, the prophetic is positional and it's purposeful. It's positional and it's purposeful. The true position of prophecy occurs in a place that was spoken. I'm telling you this for a reason. It'll make sense. True position of prophecy occurs in the place that it was spoken. So when the man and woman of God gives the word of God, they say it's going to happen in Zebulun and Naphtali. That's the exact place that it has to happen. I said, that's the exact place that it has to happen. Say it has to happen in that place. So I'm letting you know that there are prophetical things happening in the dark. At least they're dark to us. They're dark to us, but they say they're happening. They're unfolding. They're happening. The text says that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet. So it has to be fulfilled. It has to be fulfilled in the place that he spoke. Or else, Isaiah is off. He's not a true prophet if it doesn't happen in this place. So Isaiah said he prophesied it. So now it's got to happen. Say it's got to happen. The true purpose of prophecy orchestrates the plan that was spoken. So there was a plan. There is no prophecy without a plan. Let me say that again. There is no prophecy without a plan. If somebody just give you something generic, they don't have a plan. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, but if you can't do nothing with it, what was it given to you for? Some of us have received prophecies and we like, I don't even know what that is. You know why you don't know what it is? Because you can't do nothing with it. Every prophecy, say every prophecy has a plan. Every true prophecy has a plan. What's the plan? What's the plan? Text says, the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, in which people sat in darkness, saw great light. They sat in darkness and they sat in darkness and saw, they sat in darkness and they sat in darkness and saw great light. They sat in, and they saw great light. To them which were in the reason and the shadow of death, light is sprung up. Now take note that prophecy and light correlate. Prophecy and light correlate. Prophecy sheds light on what will occur. And light testifies to what is occurring. I said again, prophecy sheds light on what will occur. And light testifies to what is occurring. We must understand that light is revelatory by its very nature. Light is revelatory, but it provokes initiation. It provokes initiation. I'm not trying to be funny, but when somebody wants to light something up, they need to spark something first. Right? So starting a fire requires friction. Never mind. I said starting a fire required. Never mind. So see, some of us wonder why we facing so much friction. That's because God's trying to light. Never mind. He's trying to light you back up. Like, why am I facing so much friction? Why is everything I'm trying to do? Something is fighting against me. Everything I try to do, something is fighting against me. Say that's friction. That's friction. There's friction. So light provokes initiation. Say, I need a light. Say, I need a light. Because I've been facing this friction and something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. I need a light to come. Say, I need a light. Light is the agent of sight. Help me, Holy Ghost. Light is the agent of sight. It is the agent of vision. It is the agent of magnitude. The reason why you understand the parameters of this room is because there's light in here. If it was dark and you had not been in this place, and anybody who's ever been in here when it's really dark understands, even though you know where you are, it's difficult to see where you're going. Even though you know where you are, it's difficult to see where you're going. Even though you know where you are, it's difficult to see. So light is the agent of magnitude. It is the agent of navigation. Light is what, even when you follow your app, that thing light up, don't it? And you follow a particular light. The light might have green or red on it, but it moves, right? Or it's an arrow that's colored blue. Am I talking to anybody that use a direction navigation app? The app is blue. The little arrow is blue. Or it's green or something like that. And you follow that particular light. Everything else on your phone is lit up, but you're following one. Everything else on your phone is lit up, but you're following one particular light. Say, I need a particular light. God help me. So it's a particular light I'm following. I'm not just following something that's lit up. I'm following a particular light because truth be told, if it's bright enough outside, you will leave this false light and go outside and your eyes will have to refocus because now you're dealing with a different type of light. Most times when you leave a building, if you have a pair of shades, you put your shades on before you exit the building. Why? Because you don't want that light to hit your eyes. Some of us have been putting shades on when we leave because we don't want that kind of light to hit our eyes. Wow. Because that light is going to make you refocus. That light is going to make whatever place that you came out of seem dark. It's like I thought I was in the light until I saw the light. I'm getting somewhere with this. So in folks' definition, again, we find ourselves in this room and we can see if you want to count every chair in here, you want to count every person in here, you want to see how everybody look, you can only do that because there's light in here. And check this out, even if we shut off all the lights and it got completely dark in here and you remembered how somebody's face looked, the only reason that you have a memory is because you have light in your mind. Never mind. It's because you have light in your mind. When you dream, it's associated with light. When you have visions, everybody had a vision, you've been standing there with your eyes wide open, but you saw something else that wasn't even in front of you. That's because you were looking at a different light. Never mind. Say, put it under a different light. Put it under a different light. I hope this is helping somebody. So get this. Bloodshed offers remission of sin. Light shed offers acquisition of guidance. I said it offers because bloodshed offers remission of sin. You ain't got to take it, but it's out there. Light shed offers acquisition of guidance. That means that the minute that the light comes on, I can now acquire where I need to go. Before the light came on, I couldn't acquire where to go because I couldn't see it. So I needed light to assist the very things that are supposed to help me see. So just because your eyes are open don't mean that the light's on. Because those lights are on, but nobody's. So just because your eyes are open don't mean that the light's on. Y'all done seen some people with their eyes open, but ain't no lights on. Oh, come on now. I know y'all don't want to talk about nobody, but y'all done seen it. Hello. Snap out of it. We know light dispels darkness, but it also recognizes a few things. So light dispels darkness. We get upset. We're not upset, but we get celebratory about that. We say, the light dispels the darkness. You know, when the light comes on, that means that all the darkness is eradicated. Now you can see where you're going. Now you got navigation. Now you can see magnitude, and we get happy about that. You get happy about that. And that's okay. That's fine. But light dispels darkness, and it recognizes some things. It recognizes openness. So when the light's on, you realize what's open to you. I realize now that the light's on, I shouldn't bump into this row of chairs right here. Why? Because the light's on, I shouldn't know which ways are open to me. Let me make this spiritual. Because the light's on, I should know which way that I should go and which things that are open to me. We keep trying to fight against obstacles that we can actually see. Never mind. We are fighting against obstacles that we should be able to see, because the light defines the obstacles as well as the openness. Say it does both. I can't ignore that there are obstacles in my life, but I should not focus on the obstacles. I should focus on the opening. You've been staring at the obstacle instead of looking for the opening. Is this helping anybody? How are you running into stuff talking about the Lord is a lamp to my feet and he's a light into my path? But like we heard a little bit earlier this morning, you still tripping. He's a lamp to my feet. He's a light to my... And you tripping. I don't know which way I should go. Where's your light, man? Because even when you're confused, then you should catch a bright idea. Anyway. Even when you're confused, you ought to catch a bright idea. That makes sense to anybody? So it dispels the darkness, but it recognizes openness, it recognizes obstacle, and it recognizes the ominous. Anybody ever been walking in broad daylight and switch sides of the road? Or you turn around and went another direction? Anybody been driving and realized that you were lost and you was like, I don't need to keep going this way no more? I just want to talk to a couple folks. I know some of y'all ain't never got lost. Y'all always know where y'all going. Y'all always got the right directions. You ain't never got turned around and spent around. I ain't talking to y'all. I'm talking to us that sometimes get a little directionally challenged. Where am I? Because I remember when I had been away from home for a while and I came back and things had changed. There were more roads than what I was used to. And when I came back, even though I was familiar with where I was, I didn't know where to go. Because things had changed. And I got lost. No, y'all hit me by the Holy Ghost. I got lost in my own home. Some of us are shaken by the new things, but some of us are shaken by the very places that we're supposed to be. Because though you're supposed to be there, things are changing around you. So it helps us to recognize the openness, the obstacle, and the ominous. But receive this. Let there be light. Oh, I ain't got to the good part yet. Somebody say, let there be light. Let there be light was God speaking to the dark and undefined places in life. He said, let there be light. Before he said, let there be light, he said, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form. And the Spirit of God moved across the face of the deep. And then what happens? He says, let there be light. From then on, you start to see everything that he creates. From then on, everything that he said, let there be light. God was speaking to those places. So there are places that are dark in our lives. They're dark. And there's some other places that are undefined because some people sat in darkness and some people were just sitting in shadows. But those shadows were so intimidating they felt like death. He said they was sitting in the shadow of death. So I don't know which group of people was worse off than the other, because one sat in darkness and then the other one sat in shadows, so it was a little bit of light because you can't not see shadows without light. But the shadows that they sat in were so intimidating that it felt like death. Some of us are not dealing with dark places, we're dealing with shadows of our past. We're dealing with shadows of our conditions. We're dealing with shadows of our attitudes. Huh? We're dealing with shadows. And they sat there. They sat there. The light came to unseat them who sat in darkness. He came to unseat them who sat in darkness. It came to unseat them that were in the region and the shadow of death. Now, I want you to take note. Because Isaiah said, when it's quoting, because Matthew is quoting and he's saying what Isaiah said. Right? But Isaiah said that they walked and they lived. Isaiah said they walked and they lived in darkness. Matthew says they sat. Oh, I'm going to take it in a minute. Here you have Isaiah saying they lived, they walked, and they lived. And here you have Matthew saying it's fulfilled today what Isaiah said. But Isaiah said that they walked and they lived, and you're saying that they sat. That's an interesting thing to me. Sat figuratively, when Matthew was saying it, figuratively means to have a fixed abode. So when he said sat, the figurative meaning of that, which means that they had a fixed abode, which means that they were fixed in darkness. They were fixed in the shadows. They were fixed there. They were fixed there. Now I wonder, this is me, I wonder if by now Zebulun and Naphtali had become familiar with darkness. If you've been in darkness for 700 years waiting on prophecy, you might get comfortable with darkness. You might say, I can't see my way out this situation no kind of way. Everything I done tried, I keep bumping into stuff time and time again. You see how I keep resisting the urge to sit down. But how long we fight that resistance? How long do we fight that? This before ain't nothing gonna change. Anybody been there? I just want to talk to a couple of people that's been there. It's like, ain't nothing gonna change. I done tried everything I know. Ain't nothing gonna change. I heard what the Lord, I heard the prophecy. I heard what they said, but ain't nothing gonna change. I tried to believe that before, it still ain't happened. They said it. And I'm not even questioning whether they're a real woman of God, a man of God, and I'm not even questioning. I'm just saying it ain't happening. Maybe they were off that day. You know, we want to give people a pass when stuff ain't happening for us, right? Well, maybe they were off that day. Maybe they didn't hear from God that day. No, they heard from God, but you got comfortable. And we sat there still not knowing what to do about a particular thing. I want to talk to a couple people in the room that are still in darkness about a few things. There's some things that I don't know. There are some things that I don't see because I feel like I'm in the dark. There's no worse feeling than feeling like you're in the dark. Anybody been in a place where it seems like everybody else knew what was going on but you? Made you feel ostracized, made you feel alone, made you feel discounted, made you mad. Why? Because you're like, I'm in the dark. I don't know. And so they had been sat there in the dark, and then the other was sat there in the shadows of death. They're like, I can see a little bit, but even a little bit I see is not enough for me to be revived, to keep doing, to keep trying. So I'm going to sit here. I can see a little bit, but it's not enough for me to want to get up and change things. It's not enough for me to charge forward and to put some energy to it and say it's not enough. The shadows ain't enough. It's not enough. I need more light. I need more light. So they sat there. Sometimes, truth be told, we need to be unfixed. We need to be unfixed. Yeah, unfixed. I know that's weird, but sometimes we need to be unfixed because these people were fixed to darkness. And sometimes we need to be unfixed. And you know, anywhere that you take a seat, you have now accepted the environment. Anywhere you take a seat, you have now accepted the environment. You will never go and sit down in a place where you're uncomfortable. If you go to a nasty house, you will not sit down in that house. You may walk there, you will keep your hands to yourself. But you ain't sitting, no, it don't matter if your legs tired, you'll walk out the house before you sit down. Why? Because you're uncomfortable there. Anywhere you sit down, you've accepted the environment. Is that helping anybody? So they accepted the Bible. Now, when Isaiah said that they walked and they lived, they got so, in the text in Matthew doesn't even argue with it, because the understanding, the figurative understanding is that they were fixed to this place. So even if they were walking, even though they were moving, because we know that they didn't sit down always, we know that they had lives, and they went from work and back. They went to visit people and back. They might have went to a couple celebrations and back. How would you feel if you were going to and from, but you really never moved? Because we confuse motion with movement. We confuse motion with movement because a lot of us are in motion, but we still aren't moving. Am I talking to anybody in the house that you realize that I've been in motion? I've been doing a whole lot of things, but I haven't actually moved anywhere. It's like I'm in some kind of a trap and I can't see my way out. And the reason why you can't see your way out, because you're in a dark place. You're in a place where there's shadows. And the shadows are so intimidating that they feel like death. Anybody ever had a hope that they started to lose because they couldn't see it coming? I had hope, but I started losing hope because what I saw when I had hope is getting harder. I want to talk to some real people. It's getting harder and harder and harder for me to see. Everything that keeps happening to me makes it harder and harder to see. It's like I've been trying to do these things all this time. I've been going here. I've been going there. I've been saying this and I've been saying that, but I actually haven't moved anywhere. They sat in darkness in the region of the shadows of death. But Jesus came because he said, I've got to unfix you. I've got to detach you because you've been sitting here too long. You've been sitting. I want to talk to some people that know that they've been in a dark place. I know you see some things right now, but you know that there's some areas in your life where you're in a dark place. And the word is coming to you today saying, I'm about to unfix you from your dark places. I need somebody to receive that I'm about to unfix you from your dark places, because you got to understand something about darkness. When you feel like you're in the dark, what darkness does is it promotes ignorance. And see, when you're in darkness, because you don't know, so you don't have an understanding, you don't know where to go, you become confused. So darkness promotes ignorance. And if you're not careful, you can become comfortable in the things that you don't know. And now, instead of wanting to find out, now you accept the conditions of where you've been. So you're accepting the conditions of being confused when that ain't even what your father offered. He did not offer confusion. He is not the author of confusion. You've been sitting in a place that's not authorized. You've been sitting in a place that's not authorized because you couldn't see what was coming. Somebody say, let there be light. This was the first command of creation. Never mind. I said this was the first command of creation. Why do you think that even in the secular realm, when a cartoon gets an idea, what do you see? A light bulb. The light hits and you're like, hold on, wait a minute. I got an idea. Say, I got a bright idea. Huh? Because let there be light is the first command of creation. So every time you get an idea, the light comes on. Now I want to make sure that I wrap this thing up real tight like a bow. Every time you get divine inspiration, the light comes on. But sometimes when you get an idea, another light comes on. Because marvel not that the devil can change himself into an angel of light. But that ain't the particular light now. That ain't the light you need to be following. I know there's other lights. Say they are other lights. Because you got to understand even thing about creation that God said, let there be light, and there was light. And then he made a decision about what kind of light was going to be what? Never mind. I say he made a decision about what kind of light was going to be what. He said he made the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, right? Now, we consider the greater light that rules the day, we consider that the sun, right? But guess what? Light precedes the sun. Yeah, wrap your mind around that one. That's why people can walk outside every day and see the sun and not see the sun. That's why some people worship on Sunday and some people worship the sun. Never mind, I ain't going to mess with you. Say there's a difference in the light. Even in the store, when you go into the store, what do? They got light bulbs lined up now, don't they? Come on, y'all. Come to the store with me. Come on to the store with me. Y'all in the store with me? Y'all ever seen the little thing and they got the lights and they say daytime, they say fluorescent, they say cool, they say white, and all of them have a different light. They're all lights, but they're all different. So don't be confused by the different light. Don't be drawn into that light. Anyway. Because if you're drawn to the wrong light, you can burn yourself. I'm just saying. I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. But let there be light. First command of creation, right? The first prophetic compliance in the circuit. Get it? I'll say it again. The first prophetic compliance in the circuit. Galilee means circuit. Follow me here. Galilee is where light sprung from. Galilee is where light sprung from. It is where Christ began collecting disciples. Because if you follow the text, right after here is where he finds Peter and his brother. He goes up and finds another set of brothers further up the coast. So this is where he starts collecting disciples. Get this, they came to the light. Anyway. It was also the place that he sent his disciples after his resurrection. Wait a minute. So the prophet said that the people that sat in Nephtalium and Zebulun saw a great light, and those that were in the region, light has sprung up. In the region of the shadows of death, that light has sprung up. So he sprung from Galilee so that he could light up Nephtalium and he could light up Zebulun, because he had to light up the places that you were living and he had to light up the places where you were wrestling. Y'all was talking about it and we didn't even realize. It's hard to fight something that you can't see. You've been struggling because you're trying to fight in the dark. Once you realize you have the true light, that you don't have to fight at all, but at least you'll see it. Does that make sense? You get paranoid. You swing anywhere you can when you're fighting in the dark. Anybody ever woke up from a dream, a nightmare, and you were swinging at whatever? You didn't care what you hit. You were just swinging. That is a fight without focus. That is a fight without focus. And you will swing and waste your energy and hit nothing. You will fight the air when you can't see what you're fighting against. You will fight nothing when you can't see what you're fighting against. You'll be wearing yourself out. Some of us have worn ourselves out fighting something that we can't even see. That's because we've been fixed to darkness. Somebody say, let there be light. Mm-hmm. So it's the place where light is sprung from. It's the place he goes and gets disciples. It's the place where he told his disciples to go to after his resurrection. He says, meet me in Galilee. Meet me in the place where my circuit began. Never mind. Meet me in the, meet me in the place where my circuit began. Okay. Meet me in a place where my circuit began, because I sprung from Galilee. I went and did all these miracles, hung on a cross, died, resurrected, came back, and I said, meet me where my circuit began. Because he understood that to make this light shine fully, I've got to complete the circuit. You see, what happens when the switch is down in your home is that you're disrupting the circuit. There's power there, but you've got to connect it for the, never mind. I said there's power there, but you've got to connect it for the light to come on. Say there's power there, but I've got to connect it. And when you turn the switch on, say hit the switch. When you hit the switch, I ain't talking about hydraulics now. But when you hit the switch, you complete the circuit. So he completes the circuit. Now, this is the thing, many things about this scripture that got to me is that he comes back to the place his circuit began, and then he gives the evangelistic charge that we call the Great Commission from the same place where he began ministry. He brought them back to the place it all began, to show them that this is what it's all about. That when you go ye therefore and you teach all nations and you baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and lo, I'll be with you always, even to the end of the world. I had to bring you back to where the circuit began. I had to bring you back to the light. Because we received Jesus as the light of the world. But he had to light up Naphtali and Zebulun first. Do you understand what I'm telling you? So there are some things that you're going to affect. You're going to affect way more things than you can even possibly imagine. But you got to go to the place of prophecy first. Does that make sense? You've got to go to that prophetic place first, where God has said, you're going to be here, and you've been discouraged because you've been sitting there not realizing that light is already on the way. Matter of fact, light is already here. All I got to do is complete the circuit. That makes sense to everybody? Somebody say complete the circuit. Go to Zebulun and Naphtali, the dwelling place and the resting place. Let there be light. We honor the Great Commission when we follow the light. We honor the Great Commission when we follow the light, because we missed the transition piece. Some of us haven't been doing the things in ministry that we're supposed to do because we missed the transition piece. It's not that you didn't have the power, it's that you didn't complete the circuit. Because you've been looking for the prophetic when you first need to see the light. And the light wasn't at the cross. The light was at the beginning. Let there be light. And there was light. I dare you to speak to the dark places in your life. I dare you to speak to those undefined places in your life. I dare you to speak to those things that have made you feel like there's just death all around you. I dare you to speak prophetically to it and say, let there be light. when we say, let there be light, Isaiah was saying, he already said, let there be light, because the prophetic can never argue with the original. The prophetic can never argue with the authentic voice of God. Does that make sense? It'll never argue with it. So when they say it, it's something that came from God. He said, that light, I know you've been dealing with some things before. I know you've been dealing with some dark places, but let there be light. Let there be light. How are you and I going to live our lives, right? Because we're supposed to let our light shine so before men. Huh? So that men can see our good works, but glorify our Father which in heaven. How do we shine that light sitting in a dark place, dealing with dark things, still thinking that we have to physically fight against spiritual wickedness, against the rulers and the darkness of this world? I know the world is a dark place and it's becoming darker, it seems. But the world was dark in the beginning. But God said, let there be light. Those people that sat in Nephtalium and Zebulun, the places where you dwell, the things that you wrestle with, I know you've been dealing with darkness, but I dare you to speak to that darkness and say, let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be light. I don't want to sit in ignorance anymore. I don't want to sit in despair anymore. I don't want to sit in the spirit of give up. I don't want to sit in a place of intimidation. I don't want to be bothered that sometimes I can't go home. Sometimes I can't go home because they'll reject me there. Sometimes the very people who I grew up with are going to reject me, but that's all right. That's all right. There's a village of comfort that will accept everything that I have to offer. For every place that you've been that rejected you, there's a village of comfort. I need you to receive that. For every place that's rejected you, there's a village of comfort for you. For every Nazareth, there's a Capernaum. And Capernaum's on your way to the things that you have to light up. The dwelling places, the wrestling places. Let there be light, and light shall be. Give God a praise all over this place.